Hey guys, it's Jaden and welcome back. Today we're talking about Star Trek Discovery, Season 3, Episode 7, Unification 3. I'm gonna go on a limb and say this is the best episode of Discovery in Season 3, by far. I would also go on to say that I think this is a powerful episode that cements itself in like the Star Trek history of great episodes to watch. Not just because it really acts as an epilogue to Unification 1 and 2 of the TNG era, or Star Trek, the Star Trek movie Undisclosed Country, but because I think it really showcases Burnham as she is the protagonist in such a way that it encompasses her as a fully realized person, right? It encompasses her flaws and her greatness in one. It encompasses that whole identity of, am I Vulcan? Am I human? Am I just a human am I just a human masquerading as a Vulcan? It really dives deep into it. And I have to stand because I just really wasn't expecting this. I don't think this is going to be very similar to my other videos, mainly because of how different this episode was and how much it just was. So I'm really just going to talk about it. In the plainest of terms, no recap this time as we go through. It's really just, I'm mind blown at how good this episode was. I mean, it's not that I didn't think that they had it in them. It was just well written. And you really kind of went through this whole situation where you saw some parts basically oh, we're going to come full circle here. It starts out with her having that conflict of I don't know where I belong. I don't know if I belong here. And she's been having that the entire season. But to come to fruition after to call on Kat, ain't bit recap. Essentially getting the data from the slave camp, Burnham and Tilly find out that the burn happened across time. It was a wave. And there's something that could help them called SB-19, which is currently on Navarre. Navarre being the reunified Vulcan Romulan homeworld. We have to stand that. One, that Spock's efforts went so far to really reunify his people. But, they don't give the data, so basically Burnham has to challenge them to call on Ket, and she sees her mom again. That's the episode, basically, right? I think there's just so many different nuanced things in this episode that are just wild to me. The code switching of Burnham from the fact of you really think about it, she has had this inner turmoil on whether she is, herself, her inside Starfleet, and her as a Vulcan. And I think this episode really encompasses, let's combine those people into one. She's always been a little bit portion of one, but she really switches and when she's doing certain things. And I think this episode really cements that I am not just, a human. I am not just a Vulcan. I am not just a science officer. I am not just a daughter. I am not just a lover. It really is that episode where she has to be truthful to herself and be honest. She is more than what she has been putting out there. She is allowed to feel the feelings that she feels, and that is important. I think Unification in this instance also wasn't just about the epilogue, right? It was also about, I don't think Unification 3 was also just an epilogue. I think it was also about, reunifying the Federation and Navarre, putting them back together. And do I see it happening in the long run? Yes. Do I see it happening during the series? No. But I think that is something to point out because it really is also an episode where they really get to tackle in on the negative nature of the Federation. And I've been saying this for I'd say weeks at this point. The Federation isn't that great. They do have a lot of flaws. They kind of just serve a purpose. And I'm happy that Saru is captain. at this point. I really like this episode because Saru really got to really do his captainy things. That random, let me take you around the ship, basically, with the dignitary. And Turnia, President Turnia of Navarre, was just like, oh, well, we have a bunch of issues besides just SB-19. We also have the fact that they spread themselves too thin for other people. My issue with the Starfleet is that they don't know who they really are. Are they a peacekeeping force? Are they the UN? Are they diplomatic? Are they just explorers? That's my issue with Starfleet. And I think that kind of falls on the purview of what Turnia is saying. Like, that is an overarching problem, because it just sometimes seems like Starfleet, one, is a manipulative POS, you know? But on the other hand, they're like, we're, you know, kind of just do-gooders who just want to be in everybody's business. I think those are conversations that should be had about Starfleet. I think there are some great ideals in which they have a great conversation about, but obviously Turnia is not feeling it, but to some extent, she's welcoming the conversations because she's seeing that Starfleet can somewhat change. And if the people in Starfleet can change, then Starfleet, the organization, can change. Another notable mention from just this episode as a whole, I feel like this video is all over the place. I'm okay with that. I really am. Is Tilly being asked by Saru to be her number one? Is Tilly being asked by Saru to be his number one? I cried. I'm dead ass serious. I cried because I've been saying this since the beginning of this series, that why isn't Tilly being promoted? Technically, she'd be promoted by title, but not in rank. But you know what? I can live with that because she has proven herself time and time again as a capable individual. Truly, a capable individual that can literally stand in her own 2 feet with her peers. She's just as smart as them. She's just as fast as them. And she has a unique perspective because she's smarter than a lot of them. I love the scene when she went to her mentor, essentially her mentor, of Stemmons, being like, well, he offered me his position. He was like, well, I don't really know how I feel about that. And he was being honest, but that's just Stemmons being Stemmons, right? But the fact of seeing all the senior leadership be like, say yes. Tilly! I love this girl. I want the best for Tilly because I think she's also just a breath of fresh air when it comes to, Discovery. She has been, kind of infallible. She just hasn't done anything that's really, overarchingly annoying. She's genuinely the best part of this series if you say over the course of everything. But, I think everyone else is really starting to catch up to where she has been since the beginning, right? On going back to basically, to call on Kat, I love this reference back to the Kwalat Malat, and especially, we finally find Burnham's mom, and she is the Kwalat Malat, and she's really embraced this idea of candor. I love it. I don't know why, but I think, it also says a lot about, they have kind of risen the Kwalat Malat from, the dregs of society of just, lost causes. Yeah, they still incorporate those lost causes, but because they were so beneficial and influential in essentially causing, the Romulans and the Vulcans being able to live together, that is something that is just wild to me. Again, so I guess I got introduced to the Kwalat Malat, right, in Picard, because I have not watched all TNG. It's too many episodes. You can't expect that of me. But I watched Picard, and I fell in love with Elnor. I fell in love with the Kwalat Malat, right? And to see them be so influential and just rise up within society, it just means so much to me. And I don't know. It just... we also have that whole conversation of Booker and Michael being really, really truthful with each other of, where are they going to go now? I don't really know. I honestly don't think that was even important, to be honest, in this episode. It's cool to note, they're together now, but I really more care about Burnham and her figuring out who she is as a person. I think her going hardcore in this to Colin Cat was just wild to me. She really has had to really embrace, like, she's not right all the time. I mean, she is right all the time because story purposes, but she's not right all the time with her reasoning, her rationale. Like, it's not always correct. And some of it is a little self-serving. And I know, I have been all over the place. But this is just me going in and just saying, like, this is really one of the best episodes of Star Trek. The best episode, I would say, of Discovery. The last thing is really just like Mama Burnham. Well, I already kind of talked about her. But Mama Burnham really being like just that joy that Michael really needed this episode. And not just as her mother, but also as a reflection to really look into herself and be like, you need to figure out what you really want. And I don't know, I just thought that was very important because I think Burnham has really struggled with finding family. She's really found family wherever she goes, but like it's always been like nothing's really constant. I mean, she's always had Spock and Sarek and Amanda, but like not anymore. Now she has like Vulcan being technically like her home. Again, kind of Navarian or whatever. I don't know, kind of different. And then she's always had like each ship. And I really appreciate this episode really calling her out on her bullshit because like, even though I still will say like Burnham did not really mutineer and she was right about the Klingons and y'all would have died without her. But I just think it's pretty wild. That's all. I don't know. Just really appreciate that. Seems like next episode we're really going to get into, one, we're going to find the source of the burn. Love that for all of us. But also, we're finally going to figure out what's been going on with Giorgio. And I think it's exactly what I was saying last week of like, she's just out of phase with her universe. And I don't think that's something that Star Trek has ever really explored, the idea of being out of phase with your universe. I'm not entirely sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but like when it comes to like Terrans being out of phase with the universe. Because they always end up going back, or we always end up going to the Terran universe. So for someone to be so far from their universe, literally because it expanded, I think that's really hurting her on a molecular scale. And I think that is also like time trying to fix itself. I think this is also a good explanation on how, because there was that rumor that Michelle Yeoh would be on Section 31, which I thought got canceled, but it turns out it didn't. But there was that rumor of Section 31 getting not canceled. It was that rumor of Michelle Yeoh being on there. So I think this is the way that they find a way to send her back. I don't know how they're going to do that. They barely had a time machine once. So let's see if they figure out a way to send her back in time to her era so that she can lead or be in Section 31. I just think that this season has really been impactful for the Star Trek Discovery legacy, and the legacy being like just different. It's really different than all the other shows. I think it still goes above Voyager, because Voyager was just, yeah. I think it goes above Voyager. I don't think in the Star Trek of it all fandom, they'll say like it's better than TNG. So for me, Discovery is easily one of my top 3 series, mainly because I've seen it. And yeah, I don't know. That's just kind of my episode today. I know it's kind of a ramble, but it's also the holiday, so I gotta hurry up and I gotta go. But woo! What an episode. What a great episode also to have on Thanksgiving. Like, I love the unification aspect of the colloquial reason for having Thanksgiving. So, yeah, anyway, thank you so much for watching. I'll see y'all next week. Talk to you later. Bye.